Hi students, Dina Martin here. I am a librarian here at Woodland Community College. I'm also the point person for 3D printing and other makerspace equipment. So I'm here to share some information that will help you if you are interested in 3D printing at WCC. So I'll make sure to provide the links to these outside of the video as well to your instructor so you'll be able to access them. But it will also include my contact information. So if you have any additional questions or want to get a hold of me, you can do so at this email address. Okay, so that said, if you're interested in 3D printing, you need to have something to print. So you have two options for that. You can, well, technically three. You can create something yourself. You can find a file and modify it, which that's not always easy to do, or you can find a file that's already created. So let's start with the option to create something yourself. So if you want to create something yourself, there's a really easy web-based design software called Tinkercad that anyone can sign up for. And you just click the Join Now, and then you'll select Create a Personal Account. And this will allow you to create files that can be 3D printed, although it also creates other types of files too. So when you create an item through Tinkercad, you'll just want to make sure to export it as an STL file. But I'll keep reminding you of that throughout the video. So this is pretty easy to use. They use it even in elementary schools, but I will also send you a link for a video where I walk you through a project of creating a name tag that looks something like this, but it can have your name on it or another name. And you can just follow along with the video, pause it, go to Tinkercad, do the steps until you get through it. And maybe once you're comfortable with the Tinkercad, you might find ways to personalize the key tag any way you wish. And then you would just download this as an STL file when you are done. Since we're here, I'll just show you. So under Export, I would select STL file. So as long as that's what you download and that's what you're going to then upload to us on the request form, which I haven't showed you yet, but we'll get to that in a few steps. This is what you're going to want to download, the STL file. Okay, now there are other design software that you could use. If you're familiar with it, you're welcome to use that as well, as long as you export it as an STL file. Now, if you wanted to just find a file that's already created, there's multiple ways to do that. So one example is Thingiverse. So if you go to Thingiverse, it's a collection of different kinds of files that you could either laser cut or 3D print. So it's quite fun to use, and you can find things that people designed. And here's a great example of something that someone designed, although this is very large. So because we're not charging you for printing, we usually scale things down pretty small. So we can cover the cost of the filament currently. If you wanted to purchase your own filament and use our printers, we can work that out. So just talk to me if that's something you're interested in. But usually if you submit something, I will scale it down, and how far I scale it down depends on the item itself. But I'll look at how much time and how much filament it takes before I figure out, because I find that longer files, they usually have a lot of errors, and it can take several days just to get it to print correctly. And sometimes there's been things we've tried to print that never printed correctly at all, so then we end up just giving up on them, especially if they're like take 24 hours to print. We're just not going to keep, after a certain amount of time, you're just like give up and never mind. But usually small items we don't have an issue with. And for most classes, you're doing this for extra credit, since it's not, the size isn't a necessary thing to worry about for course objectives or student learning outcomes. We definitely keep it small so we can keep doing it. So unless we have another arrangement made with the instructor. So the thing files is what you would look for if you were on Thingiverse. The thing files, you have to click to get to this. I know I already had it up, but you click on Thing Files. Notice there's three here: SVG, DXF, and STL. So the SVG we could not use. The DXF we could not use. You want the STL file. Now in the future, we're planning on having a laser cutter, and we also have something called a Cricut Maker, which is kind of like a laser cutter. That you could do STL files on. So if you're interested, SVG files on. So if you're interested in that, just talk to me and I can tell you more about the equipment or help you use that. But for 3D printing, you need to have the STL file. Another finding tool you can use is this STL Finder, or you can just go to Google and enter something in like, I like hearts, And then I want it to be an STL file, so I'm just going to type that in, STL file. In fact, we probably don't even need the word file, but I put it in there anyways. And notice that's what I'm getting, STL files for 3D printed hearts. Here's another model. And so make sure you use you're at least aware of websites and make sure they look legitimate before you download anything. But you can always do an extra search if you're not sure about it and find out about this Cult 3D or this Yegi.com to see what other people are saying about it. Although I've never had a problem with SVG files when I've downloaded them. But I make sure I'm kind of aware of the site as well, especially because you're going to be downloading them to your computer. And then you're going to be sending it to me, in which I have to open it to run it through the software before we can send it to the printer. So now we've already learned about how you can design it yourself using Tinkercad or another software if you're familiar with 3D design, or you can find files using the web at a website like Thingiverse, STL Finder, or just doing a Google search. So now that you have something that you want to print, then that's when you would submit the 3D print request. And so to get to the 3D print request, just go to the Library Makerspace web pages. So we do that by going to Academics and Library. And then we're going to select Makerspace. And then right on the Makerspace homepage, there's the 3D print request. Although I also encourage you to check out our other equipment. And if you have any ideas, we currently have funding to expand the Makerspace. So if there's something you want to be able to make and you need equipment to do that, let us know. And I can't guarantee it, but we'd love to hear what you would like to make. So please let me know by emailing me or coming to the library to talk to me. So 3D print request. So here's the 3D print request. It's pretty easy to fill out your name, your student ID number, your email, which is very important that you give us an email that we can contact you, because if we have an issue with the file or if I need to contact you for other purposes, which I'll explain a little bit more of that in a minute, you just want to make sure it's an email that you check regularly. Then you have to upload the file. So remember that STL file, that example I showed you, you would download that first and then you would upload it to this form. And then we just ask you, did you design it? Did you modify it or no? What course or project this is for? And then you can put in any special requests. So usually we don't take a lot of special requests, but we left room in there for it anyways. If we happen to need to change filament, then if you put in a color request, we might be able to accommodate that, but we don't just change it to change color for everybody, because they may want a different color, and that just adds to a lot of time, and we just don't have a lot of staff. That's why we can't do that currently. But this is also where you could put, if you wanted to see your item printed, you could put in a couple of different times. I suggest 2 or 3 times that you are available, and just say, I would like to see it printing. Here's when I'm available, and we'll do our best to make sure it's printing during that time when you can come. Or if you want to see what I do with the file before I send it to the printer, because you're really interested in seeing that behind the scenes for 3D printing, then you can also put that in there. It's like, I would like to see you use the software to, it's called slicing it is what they call it, but it's defining the layers. I want to see you use the software before you send it to the computer. So if you put a little note in there and tell me that, and then tell me again 2 or 3 different times that you're available, then I will look at my calendar and see what we match up, and then I will confirm with you using the email, which is why it's important that you give me an email that you're actually check. So I can follow up with you to confirm things. Or I'll follow up with you if there's an issue with the file, because occasionally I get files that for some reason just aren't opening correctly, or if there's an issue with it that I can't fix, then I can reach out to you so we can determine something to do about it. All right, so that's the 3D print request, and then when you're done, you just submit it, and then I automatically get several emails that tells me that it's available, and then as soon as I can get to it, I will open it up, get it ready for printing. I save it to a USB disk, and then I take the USB out to the printer and print it. Okay, let me make sure I said everything. So you have my contact. You will also have links to Tinkercad, the video to walk you through the name tag, Thingiverse, STL Finder. Of course, you can also go to Google, the 3D print request. And like I said, I encourage you to check out our other Makerspace equipment. I hope you found this video helpful, and I look forward to seeing what you decide to print at the WCC Library Makerspace. See you soon.